I joke about this a lot, but there's nothing more common that comes in this direction than questions about Roman Wilson. And I'm going to go over some of those answers again, but I'm also going to give you a little bit of a new perspective based on some new stuff. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also cover the other two teams in town, the Penguins and the Pirates. I hope you'll check those daily shots out as well. There was another one of those sessions yesterday over on the south side. Lots of players, lots of the same names. From phase 1 of these off-season workouts, this is the beginning of phase 2. For anybody who wonders why there isn't more extensive reporting or visuals on this, it's because it's not open to the media. That won't happen until later this month. And by the way, in parentheses, don't get the OTAs confused with the rookie minicamp. The rookies come in this weekend with nobody else around, and 2 of those 3 days are open to the media. But for this one, you just have to settle for the photographs that are taken by the Steelers' own photographers. And they're very, very, very good, in addition to being full of at least some news value. You get to see who's there. You get to see their expressions. You get to see how hard it appears that they're working. And if a veteran pops by like a Deshaun Elliott, you can appreciate that too. And Elliott was there yesterday. A lot of the key phase 1 guys were there for the start of phase 2, Mason Rudolph, Pat Freiermuth, Broderick Jones, Joey Porter. But then that also makes sense because if they're not training here in Pittsburgh, they're training somewhere. This is football. You can't really afford to take the foot off the gas for very long in the offseason. But yeah, there again was Roman Wilson. And I'm not looking at that as anything other than, this is where he's training. It's 100% voluntary. But just seeing him and seeing him active is enough to be something of a trigger for me too, because we didn't see much of him in 2024. He's hurt in training camp, missed a ton of time, preseason, early part of the regular season. And by the time he came back, that was when Mike Tomlin started using that line about getting onto a moving train, meaning it's too late. We don't have the time to be getting into all kinds of development / playbook stuff now. There's football games at hand. And even when Wilson did get a helmet, that happened exactly once. It was the middle of October in Las Vegas. He was on the field for exactly 5 snaps, wasn't targeted, wasn't involved in any capacity. And then poof, he vanished again. So everybody wants to know what happened here. This was a guy that everybody was excited about, comparing to Puka Nacua whenever the Steelers took him as their 3rd round pick in 2024, 84th overall out of Michigan. Did a lot of good things, exciting things, athletic things as a college player, and was expected to be, at the time of his selection, someone who'd come in and, just play. That's generally the way it goes with wide receivers, but doubly so on a team that wasn't exactly overwhelming anybody with depth at the position. So what happens now? What happens in 2025? Number 1, by a mile, by multiple miles, he's got to stay on the field. And I don't care if that sounds unfair, if it sounds like I'm labeling him as injury prone or whatever, it doesn't matter. He's got to stay on the field regardless of what you or I or anybody else thinks about it. And to that end, again, all we're doing is looking at still photos here, but you can see that he's not just partaking, but partaking with really intensive looking expressions. And since that's all we have, that's all I can comment on for now. But from there, and this is the part that I want to stress today because this came to me from the inside, he's got his work cut out for him because the depth chart at the wide receiver position is as follows. 1, DK Metcalf. 2, George Pickens. 3, and I mean a hard 3, Calvin Austin. I'm not guessing at that. I've been told that definitively. Cal is a significant part of what the Steelers hope to achieve offensively and hope to capitalize upon, specifically as it relates to having two threats in Metcalf and Pickens being able to draw a lot of attention, maybe you can have Cal do some different things with all the rest of that open grass that should be there. Is Wilson 4? He'd better be. But Robert Woods just got signed, and I don't think that was an accident. And don't laugh off the concept that either Ben Skoranek or Scotty Miller could contribute in their own ways, because they did in 2024, not just on special teams. But he's going to have to fight for it. Wilson's going to have to fight for whatever it is that he gets. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. That's not burying him. That's not dismissing him. That doesn't mean he's a bust. Listen, this is how it used to be for all draft picks, even the first rounders. Not in some punitive way, not because they were being told to go sit in the corner and wait till the grown-ups play, but because they were made to earn it. That's all I see happening here. Here's hoping he does. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Welcome back. Lots and lots and lots of feedback to the Monday show, the portion of it that dealt with Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers, it being quarterback Monday, and everybody's got some kind of thoughts on it. They've either picked somebody that they like, they've laid out their own paths, they've laid out their own depth charts. They want to see Will Howard get involved. But out of all of those, and for those of you who don't know this, if you put a comment about any episode that I do on the DK Pittsburgh Sports website, I will read it. If you put it on YouTube, I will read it. If you put it on Spotify, I will read it. Those are the three places that I check. And on this day, none of them was better than this one from Jeffrey Tokarski, who said, DK, do I want Mason as QB1? Yes. If Rodgers signs, do I want him to have an MVP season? Yeah. I mean, how do you do better than that? And I really think like that's without telling anybody how to feel about this, that's a healthy perspective. You're not going to get disappointed in one direction or the other. If the situation lined up so that Rudolph would be the starter, and now I'm speaking for myself here, would I feel that's a good scenario for the Steelers? Yes. But if they do go ahead and sign Rodgers, or I should put it the other way around, if Rodgers does indeed come down from Mount Olympus and sign, what would be best for the Steelers? Well, it would be for him to have a very, very good season. I think asking for him to pick up his 5th MVP honor at age 42 is a bit much. But I don't feel like this is some election type situation where you're just going to stick with your candidate no matter what. I think there's a lot of different things at play here, not least of which is that when you're as old as Rodgers is, there's a much, much better chance that you're going to get hurt. And I know every time I mention that, first thing you think of is the 2023 season in which he was lost for the whole thing in the very first set of snaps. And then people will say, yeah, but he started all 17 games in 2024. Well, yeah, he did, but it doesn't take some intensive research to read up from people who cover those other Jets that Rodgers was really hurt throughout. He was nursing stuff. He was not sharing stuff necessarily that he probably should have been sharing, meaning with the athletic trainers and the medical people. He was limping around. And to his credit, he continued playing, but that doesn't mean that he was healthy. So as I keep saying, Mason's going to play one way or the other. And this doesn't have to become, I think, to what you're saying here, Jeffrey, although you don't lay it out in so many words, it doesn't have to be some big divisive thing. And I appreciate you for that. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.